So the other day I finished Clear as the Moon by Stewart, which is the last book in the Great and Terrible series, which, as I said before, is based in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So how did this series end? Obviously on a happy note, or maybe. So in the last book, it talked about Bono and Sam and a small group of men, I think like 3 other men, and their pilots and everything, going out to the Middle East and taking out King Abdullah. Well, they do that. It's like halfway through the book, though, that they finally get out there. They take Azada with them. In the meantime, it seems like Secretary Marino's crew had found 2 other Supreme Court justices to help him reinstate himself as president, because he was basically impeached without ever being able to defend himself. And so when they find him, they ask him, are you willing to defend? Are you willing to vote in favor of Secretary Marino being president or no? One is totally for it. The other one is a little iffy on it. So they have to send Sarah Brighton, into basically the enemy headquarters, which, what is it, Ravens Head, something like that, out there in the east, and try and convince the known remaining judge who was with them, who had impeached Secretary Marino, basically on the say-so of everybody, to try and convince him to come back to the Offutt base, where Secretary Marino was, so that they could do it properly. She succeeds. Luke and Ammon, in the meantime, before their mother left, talked to their mother and said, look, we don't want to stay here doing nothing. We want to do our part. So to me, it's unclear what exactly they were going to do, but it had something to do with going out to their mission, even though they weren't officially set apart for it. Who's going to set them apart for it right now? So they basically go and try to gather saints in areas and get the church, bring hope, basically. That's their whole point. So Sarah is successful in getting Judge Jefferson out to Offutt Hill Force Base. And she's in the room with Secretary Marino as they're deliberating. And it takes hours, and they vote in favor of Secretary Marino, just in time for Sam and Bono and them to be able to detain King Abdullah. So their story, they go and get Bono from Tennessee, and they bring his wife and child to a base where they'll be safe. And she doesn't have to worry too much anyway. I mean, he's heading into dangerous territory. They take Azada with them. They go to where Omar had told him he had the boy prince, the prince of the older brother that Abdullah killed. And he told them the location. And so they meet up there. The problem is King Abdullah's men are already there. So it's kind of like a fight to who's going to secure the prince. Well, one of the King Abdullah's snipers ended up taking out Omar. On the trail, the village leader who had initially rejected Omar's plea for sanctuary had looked back and was just changing his mind when he saw Omar get killed. And him and the prince are just waiting for the next gunshot to be to the prince. It doesn't happen. So the village leader grabs the prince and dives into the river. Basically tries to take him to safety. The soldiers find the village leader, demand to know where he is. The village leader refuses to tell him. They shoot him. So he gets killed as well. So basically, we have no idea where, I mean, we know they're around. We just don't know exactly what their plan is. But the soldiers find the boy. They bring him to King Abdullah. And they're holding on to him. And you've got Sam and Bono's soldiers kind of around, hidden, ready to take action when the signal's given. So as the king is working on gloating to the young prince and just about to kill him. Azada comes in, dressed as one of the people of the village, and starts saying that that's not the prince, that's her child, and please don't kill her child. And the two soldiers bring her forward. The two soldiers are Sam and Bono, disguised as King Abdullah's soldiers. Well, as soon as Azada falls to the ground, pleading with King Abdullah, that's the signal, and then basically the little battle starts. So they have hold of him, of King Abdullah, and they're trying to detain him enough so that they can take him prisoner. They don't want to kill him. They want to make him stand trial for his crimes against the world, basically. Sam dies briefly through one of the soldiers who finally realized that wasn't one of his friendlies. So he shoots. Sam gets something, but King Abdullah is knocked unconscious by Sam. And across the veil, you see Neil, who's there, and he's just pleading with his son to live. Tient comes with him. He's like, I don't think it's his time to go yet. So you see Sam's spirit appear by his father, and he's like, and Neil gets the message, and he's like, do you want to stay? Because it's not your time. Sam's like, I don't think it's my time either. So Sam goes back with a priesthood blessing that's given by Bono. So Bono's able to get King Abdullah, Azada, and the prince into the helicopter that was waiting for King Abdullah. Sam gets to the helicopter as well. He's injured. Bono is able to speak the perfect language through the Holy Spirit and is able to convince the prince to get in the helicopter with that. However, there's a struggle with Bono trying to get in the air because King Abdullah's men are shooting at him. And at one point, he does get shot. Azada's trying to pull him onto the helicopter, and he falls to the ground. And it must have been close enough where he could survive it and not totally be dead, but it looks like he's dead, and the enemy soldiers just go in and just start beating him. And so the assumption is that he's not going to make it, because how could he? His body fell from the helicopter. He was shot. He was beaten, and his body was not at good angles for this. So all is well, except for Bono. All is well. Everybody made it out except for Bono. There's a chapter dedicated to Kaylin and the depression she feels missing her husband. I really was sobbing during the end of this book. This is the second time I've read it, and I don't know, it's just, you just feel for the characters, because so Sarah comes to visit Kaylin at her parents' farm, and she's just like, it's time. We've all given so much, but it's time to let him go. It's been this long. I don't know if it seemed like the time didn't match up to me. I thought this was 6 months after, but it may not have been that. Anyway, so they're at a funeral with an empty casket for Bono, and little Ellie goes up to the casket, and she talks to her dad, saying that she misses him. She doesn't know what to do. She's going to try her best. She wants to be just like him. And then she's silent for a minute. And then she just has the most peaceful look on her face as she comes back. And she's just like, Dad's not dead. And her mom goes, I know, honey. I know, honey. We'll see him someday. And she's like, she just smiles. And then the scene flashes over to, this is the funeral that was mentioned at the end of the beginning book that Kelly basically saw in her dreams. You don't really see much of them at the end, but so the scene switches to Bono in an enemy prison. So he's basically a prisoner of war. He's alive. He's dying. He's alive. He's being starved. He's alive. And he knows how often the U.S. drones go by. And so when he gets out there, he basically is trudging through the snow, kind of deliriously, spelling out his name so that when they put all the satellite images together, they get Bono. And they go in for a rescue mission because King Abdullah's men were taken out. Therefore, he was passed off to the different terrorist groups in that area. So he was rescued and brought back, and basically happy endings all around. So you're sobbing because you think he's dead and you feel for Kaylin and her loss, and you're sobbing because he's alive and you feel for Kaylin and Bono and they're reuniting. It's a really good story. I really enjoyed it, despite the long explanations sometimes where I didn't care so much. Some people do care about that. I don't, but you just kind of go through it the best you can. But the storyline is a really good one, and I really like it. Thanks.